My house sits farther back in the lot than most other houses. It is a strange layout as well. The sidewalk runs the length of the living room and ends at the front porch, which leads into the living room. Large windows that do not open allow great light to get into the living room, but at the cost of no privacy. The rest of my family was on vacation, and having the house to myself, I decided I would get smashed. Well, I passed out on the couch in the living room at about 9 when I realized I was too scared to walk back to my room. The couch is right underneath these big windows. I woke up suddenly, not knowing why. I had a severe case of the chills, and I could not figure out why. Then the banging started. It came from right above me. I did not move, but I opened my eyes and looked up at the window. Someone was standing there, pounding on the glass. Without moving, I looked at the cable box. It was around 3 in the morning. The banging continues. Then it stopped, suddenly, but I still did not move. Suddenly, it commences again, coming from 2 different directions now. Someone is banging on the window and another person is banging on the front door. They kept doing it. It would not go away. Finally, after about 40 minutes, they quit. It was the most terrifying event I can recall at the moment. It made me a nervous wreck after that. Called a friend the next day and see if he would come over and stay for a week. His response was, "What the fuck for? So that we can be both murdered in our sleep?" Yeah, thanks a lot, asshole. Well, I used to work in a max security mental health facility, and there was this one time that I sat across from a guy who told me about killing his girlfriend, him cutting her into pieces and boiling her head. He explained why he killed her and wished he could talk to her parents so they could understand that what he was doing was a good thing, which it wasn't. Sat with him for 45 minutes as he went into detail. Was the most surreal 45 minutes of my life. When I was about 10, all of my cousins and siblings were over, about 10 of us there. The parents and grandparents were out for an adult dinner. So it was just the kids sitting around, watching a few movies, when all of a sudden the house shook and there was a large flash coming from the backyard. It felt as if a bomb dropped, and we all heard it, felt it, we saw it. As a pack, we ran into the hallway. The oldest cousins in the group debated on calling the police, but opted to call the parents. And after a few minutes, we gained our courage, then ventured out into the living room again, this time with weapons, just in case. After half an hour with no other issues, the parents came home and thought we were insane. There was nothing wrong with the backyard, and no neighbors reported anything. It's been 10 years, and we still talk about it, trying to figure out what it was. That has been the scariest thing to happen to me by far. Okay, so this happened to me last summer when I was back at my parents' house during the holidays. It was around 3 a.m. and I was in my room on my computer when I got a call from my sister. Now, that was already a little bit weird since my sister's room is just down the hallway from mine, and she could have just came in my room. I went to pick up and the call ended as soon as I reached the phone. I figured that she wanted to speak with me, so I got up and went to her room. As soon as I reached her door, she started screaming that someone was in the room with her, so I busted in, and of course nobody was there. After she stopped crying, she told me that she woke up and saw a dark shadow just centimeters away from her face, and that's when she screamed. So I told her that she called me. She tells me that her phone is not in her room and that she was sleeping. Sure enough, her phone is actually downstairs in her purse. The weird part is that I have the log of her call on my phone, but she doesn't. Never managed to explain this one. My grandmother swore by this story till her dying day. It was during the war in London, and my dad was a baby. She was bombed out of her house and was staying with a friend. The friend had set her up in a room on the top floor. Anyway, she was taking my dad upstairs to bed when a figure materialized on the stairs, telling her not to sleep in that room tonight. She knocked back downstairs and told her friend that she and my dad were sleeping in the sitting room that night. Her friend was annoyed, but agreed. That night, a bomb exploded near the house and the roof caved in, right on top of my dad's cot. He could have been killed. Well, as for my story, it was about 2 years ago when I was driving home from my family reunion pretty late at night, and the drive was about 2 hours. Didn't stay the night because I had to be back for work the following day, and most of the drive was on roads with dense bushes and trees on either side. The real creepy ones you see a lot in the movies, actually. Anyway, I had been driving about 45 minutes and I was starting to get really tired. Well, you know how sometimes you just suddenly become really tired out of nowhere? Well, that happened to me. I knew I wasn't going to last, but I didn't come across any place that I felt I could park and safely sleep. Anyways, after it became clear to me that I wasn't going to find a place to pull up, and my tiredness wasn't going away, I did something very questionable. Yeah, I pulled over to the side of the road onto the grass, behind some bushes, to try and hide my car from anybody else who was going to come past. You see, the roads weren't empty. I came across another car every few minutes or so. I made a mental note that the time was 11:22 and then fell asleep. Sometime later, I was awoken by a scratching sound. I looked at the clock. 11:50. The sound stopped after a few seconds, and because I was still extremely tired, I didn't bother looking around and simply went back to sleep. I was later awoken by the same sound, and it was now 12:40. This time, it really freaked me out because the sound didn't stop. The thought ran across my mind that it was just an animal inspecting the car, but why would it return almost an hour after it had left the previous time? I looked in my rearview mirror and just managed to catch the glimpse of something running away into the forest. Now, at the time, I thought it was the damn hook killer. You know, the one that scratched the couple's car and then slaughtered the guy when he got out to investigate? Fuck that, I thought to myself. So I got the hell out of there. There was a bend no more than 100 yards up the road, and as I came around it, there was a fucking car, parked off to the side of the road with the driver's side door opened. I slowed down just to look to see if anyone was in there. There wasn't. Then I looked in my rearview mirror. Didn't see anything, and all of a sudden, this guy comes sprinting around the corner. He starts screaming at me, shouting stuff like, hey you, get the fuck out of your car now! I noped the fuck out of there and sped off. Never saw that guy again. And, well, wanna hear my take? Moral of the story is don't fucking sleep on the side of a deserted road.